I want to give you another sample rubric to take a look at here. One that actually I didn't create. This rubric comes from a coworker, but she also ended up being a student of mine in an online teaching certification course that she was taking. And her name is Dr. Elizabeth Rard. She is a philosophy instructor at Reedley College in Reedley, California, about 30 miles or so southeast of Fresno, where Fresno Pacific is. And so Dr. Rard was in this course, and she submitted this rubric as her first attempt, really had a rubric in this particular course anyway, as an example for a discussion on inductive and deductive reasoning. So the assignment was a discussion assignment from her students, and the topic was inductive and deductive reasoning. And so let's take a look at her rubric here. Here are the assignment instructions so you understand what the assignment is and what the students were instructed to do here. So she's already taught on the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning. She's explained those differences and so on. And so if you're not familiar with the difference in those two reasonings, she's a philosophy instructor. We would cover this in a logic class as well if you've had a logic class. We certainly cover inductive and deductive reasoning in math. And so I'll give you the examples from math. So deductive reasoning is most of math, solving an algebra equation. This step is true. We followed the algebra rules correctly. So this step is true. That means as long as we follow the rules, the next step is true, and the next step is true, and so on. Deductive reasoning is also used in geometry. I know that might bring up bad memories of you from high school, hopefully not, but proofs, specifically in geometry. We know this step is true, therefore we can say this step is true. Because that step is true, we know this next step is true, and so on. That's deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is when you see a pattern of things happening, and because you observe that pattern, you assume that that pattern is going to continue, and so you can come up with the next step in that pattern, whatever it might be. So that's inductive reasoning, where you see a pattern and essentially guess at the next outcome. Deductive reasoning is because these things are true, the next thing has to be true. Okay? And so in her instructions, she says, this week we learned that the two main types of logical reasoning are deductive and inductive reasoning. Part 1 of the assignment is to post your original post. So please share an example of a time in your life when you have used deductive reasoning and another time when you have used inductive reasoning. What about each situation do you think led you to use that particular type of reasoning? Be sure to provide enough detail to show that you understand the difference between the two main types of reasoning and to demonstrate that your examples are actually instances of the two types of reasoning. Okay. Part 2, respond to your peers. So reply to 2 of your classmates' posts by either noting that you have had a similar reasoning experience or by asking a follow-up question about their reasoning process. Circumstances, evidence, outcome. Okay. So again, I just want to verify the post. So the post is provide an example, and then what about each situation do you think led you to use that particular type of reasoning? Okay. And then there's an optional part 3, follow-up, to reply to somebody that replied to yours. So in other words, continue the conversation, continue the discussion here. Okay. So those are the instructions for this particular assignment. So here's Dr. Rard's rubric, and let's just build it out the way that she did. And so these are the categories that she chose to use for her scores, basically. And that includes full marks, needs improvement, so not perfect, needs improvement, not excellent, needs improvement, and no marks. Okay? And these are her criterion that she chose. The examples that they came up with in their original post. Okay? Oh, and I didn't mention that all of her discussions in her course are worth 10 points each. And so this assignment is worth 10 points. Okay, so that's one of the big things is the examples they provide. That's 4 points. The question in the original post that they pose, okay, that's 4 points. And their responses to their peers are 2 points. Okay, and so here's how she described each one of these. So the examples in the original post give clear and detailed examples of both inductive and deductive reasoning. The information provided was sufficient to show that the student understands the difference between the two types of reasoning. That was critical in the instructions. And the student correctly identified an example of each from past experience. I think that's a great way of describing what you would want to see based on the question that she asked. That's excellent. For the question in the original post, the student gave a thoughtful reflection on why they used each type of reasoning in the situations discussed. The response made reference to the evidence that was available or to the nature of the question they were attempting to answer. An excellent answer will reference the specific types of inductive and deductive reasoning and the typical situations in which they are commonly used. Again, an excellent description of what you would be looking for as an answer to that question that she posed. And then for excellent responses, the student posted to 2 other students' posts. Again, a little bit of a count, but that's kind of what we do with discussions in online learning, that were thoughtful, and I like that were thoughtful and provided either some detail of a similar reasoning experience, sufficient to demonstrate the similarity, because that was part of the question that she asked them to do, either give a similar experience or asked a question that would help to enhance the clarity or accuracy of the original post. I really like that, how she detailed that out for a response, a reply, basically, from a student to another student. That's an excellent description there. Okay, well, let's look at the next level. What is not so excellent of a response here? What does it demonstrate? The student posted 2 examples. Okay, a little bit of a count there again, but they were either not accurate examples of the 2 types of reasoning, or, because there's multiple reasons why she might mark somebody down, so she wants to cover those, or there was not sufficient information provided to establish the accuracy of the examples, or to demonstrate the student's understanding of the distinction between inductive and deductive reasoning. Very good. Very similar to the description in the excellent category for that, but it's just stepped down 1 notch from each one of those. Excellent, excellent example here. For the next criteria, the student responded to the question, but did not either provide detail about the reasons that led them to use each type of reasoning, or demonstrated an understanding of the connection between the situation and the appropriateness of their reasoning choice. Love that. Very, very right on, descriptive in terms of what we're looking for there. In terms of the student's posts to the discussion, the student either posted only 1 reply, or the replies neither provided detail sufficient to demonstrate a similarity, that they had a similar situation in their life, nor asked questions that could help to improve the clarity or accuracy of the original posts. Again, very well done. No marks, those are semi-basic. The student provided less than 2 examples when it was very specific in the question that they needed 2 examples. The student did not provide an answer to the question about why they used the reasoning that they did. Okay, sorry, I'm going to go back a step. The student provided less than 2 examples. Notice in the needs improvement category for that first criteria, it still says the student posted 2 examples. Because the question was worded the way that it was, it would be very strange for a student to only provide 1 example. Because the whole topic here is 2 things, inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning, and the question was very clear that there are 2 things you need to provide here. And so 1 is not really an option. So it just specifically says the student provided less than 2. Okay. And then finally, For the responses, student did not reply to any other, they didn't even reply to anybody else, so that's 0 points. Okay? This is excellent. I think I blew her away a little bit in my response to her. In fact, I think in her response she put in, she thought it was too verbose. Not at all. Not at all. These are great descriptions of exactly what you would want demonstrated from the student in this question for this assignment. This is a great example of a really well-written rubric, in my opinion.